expectation for David Irving in practice today?
Don't anticipate David practicing today, but anticipate him doing some work on the side with our trainers.
How's Orlando?
Orlando should do something in individual today. He'll be limited for practice, but we should have him out there for the early part.
What about Bryce Butler?
Bryce probably won't do a whole lot today. Anticipate him practicing as the week goes on, though.
And Durant?
Durant will be limited, probably mostly individual work.
What have you seen from Derek Carr and watching him for this game?
A really good player, very talented, very live arm, can throw the ball all over the place, throws with accuracy, throws with touch, dynamic guy, and they got weapons. Big-time receivers outside, a big-time tight end. Obviously, the running back is outstanding, so he does a really good job running their offense and plays at a very high level.
Do you feel like that Lyle Collins is better equipped now to handle a guy like Khalil Mack as he was when they first met in the preseason?
Oh, I think like with all your players, you hope they grow with every experience they get. You know, LC's done a really nice job the last couple weeks, you know, not being able to really practice, but then going and playing the ball game. And I just think he's one of those guys who gets better and better. He loves to play football. He's very physical, and I think he's learning and growing from the experience that he has.
All your time around football, what's maybe the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the Raiders organization?
Oh, there's great history and tradition with the Raiders. If you think about you know, what they've done throughout their history, from I guess 1960, they were one of the great AFL franchises. They've had a lot of great players and coaches through the years, and a lot of great teams. And you know, we all have those images of, you know, whether it's John Madden or Kenny Stabler or Marcus Allen or all those guys that have played for him through the years. Great history and tradition.
Do you expect LC or Tyron to do anything in practice?
We don't anticipate those guys practicing today. Anticipate them getting back to work tomorrow, though.
What have you seen from your safeties since y'all kind of, you know, made these changes where you've got guys rotating in a little bit more than you had?
You know, I think they've all done a nice job with the opportunities they've gotten. You know, I think it's good for our team to have that competition, and you try to put them in roles where they can be successful, and you're hopeful that they prepare the right way and take advantage of the opportunities. And each of those guys has. You know, even the guys whose playing time has been adjusted and limited a little bit, I think they've come back and played well. And certainly the guys who have gotten an opportunity to play, Kayvon Frazier, you know, Xavier Woods, those guys have played a lot more, and I think they're growing with every rep they get.
Eli Manning made his return as the starting quarterback for the G-Men. Benched the week before. Giants fans happy to see their quarterback back, but Tom, it didn't matter all that much. Not much happened in this game until late in the second. Second and goal, Eli finds Rhett Ellison in the end zone. Touchdown. Giants take a 10-3 lead, and we're kind of wondering, did the Cowboys show up in New York until Dak Dez? A little bit of urgency. They got down, 50-yard touchdown. Cowboys tie it back up before the half. Late third now, still 10-10, still wondering if the Cowboys are going to show up in this game. Dan Bailey misses his second field goal of the day. Next Cowboys possession, however, Cole Beasley makes a man miss, takes a nice 44-yard gain. I love the little pivot move that he makes, Tom, on the little out there.
That's his go-to.
Really nice one right there. It sets up this play right here. Hey, Dak, Rule 82, Jason Witten, touchdown Cowboys. Cowboys up 17-10. Now move ahead in the fourth. All of a sudden, Tom, this game becomes a blowout. 2 possessions later, third and short, Dak with a quick pass to Rod Smith. 81-yard touchdown for the backup running back. Nice game out of Rod Smith to the house. Seals it for the Cowboys more or less. Giants with the ball again, down 23-10. Eli, ball tip, Sean Lee. Sean Lee's there. What a game out of Sean Lee. It was great to have him back, and then a little icing on the cake. Rod Smith takes the pitch left, makes a guy miss, avoids a tackle. 30-10 Cowboys. Cowboys get the victory to move to 7-6. Tom, Dak Prescott was much, much better in this game. 20 of 30, 332 yards and 3 touchdowns for the quarterback.
He played great, and I keep going back to this in my head. The Giants were a third down stop away from being down 7 with the ball, about 4 minutes to go, and probably having great field position. Instead, Dak manipulates the safety with his eyes and finds Rod Smith for an 81-yard score, and game over.
Eli was okay in that game. He's better than Geno Smith.
Well, yeah, look, the Cowboys and the Giants, you could tell they both knew the Cowboys were supposed to win this game.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys, they didn't start that well, and I think urgency was a good word. They also never panicked. Like, they got down and they went, you know what, the Giants offense has not moved the ball that efficiently. They used the trick plays early and often, which is how you know, hey, they're not feeling good on offense. And Eli had to check it down a ton, and it showed. The Cowboys, even though it was close, they always had that confidence of being in control, even though maybe you and I didn't always feel that way.
Yeah, you see this out of Dak sometimes, where I think when he gets a little bit of sense of urgency back in him for certain drives late in the half,
he occasionally starts slow.
Yeah, he can though, however, really bring the heat when needed, and he got that late touchdown. Nice play by Dez. And then really they turned it on late in the fourth quarter when it was that 10-10 game into the fourth.
And that was a game of like,
and
oh,
it
man.
turned into a blowout.
Cowboys having serious issues. What's going on there?
Here's a stat courtesy of producer Lena Bond. Cowboys' last 5 games, decided by 20-plus points. First time that's happened in the NFL since 2004. What the hell?
I don't really know what to make of it other than like when the Cowboys are good, they're great. When they're bad, they're awful. Sean Lee matters.
All those things. I am Brett Scott. This is Tom Downey. Welcome into the Cowboys Report. Today's episode is sponsored by The Guild, a new concept in hospitality located in Austin, Texas. If you're taking a trip to Austin, and you do need to, Tom, make sure you stay with The Guild. Luxury lodging at the best residential buildings in Austin, like a luxury Airbnb. It comes with a virtual concierge. You need to know what bars and restaurants to hit up on 6th Street. Just text them. They'll let you know. Visit stayguild.com. Use the promo code CHATSPORTS for 15% off your stay.
They make me feel fancy when I go there, and I like to feel fancy.
That's right.
That's why I wear a watch. Doesn't actually work.
They've got new locations opening up in Nashville, Miami, and here in Dallas in 2018 as well. All right, Tom, let's get into the Cowboys Report. We've got preview coming up with the Cowboys Raiders, but we're going to start first with the Ring of Honor, the top Cowboys of the 2017 season. We count them down 10-1. We start here at number 10 with offensive tackle, left tackle, Tyron Smith.
Smith wasn't great to start the year, and you can kind of tell. I don't think he's still 100%. He's kind of battled that back injury, but he is so much better than the Chaz Green, Byron Bell combo the Cowboys had to throw out at one point this year. And he's been better, I think, since he came back from that injury.
I think we've seen it the last couple of weeks. Offensive line is starting to get a little bit more healthy, a little bit back toward their cohesion. Tyron Smith is a big part of that. As we move on here in the Ring of Honor, number 9, Hall of Famer himself, Jason Witten. Another touchdown pass last week because the Giants love to give up touchdowns to their tight ends, right, Tom?
Back-to-back weeks that Jason Witten has had one catch and it's gone for a TD. Yeah. So that's effectiveness, right? I love this route. Like, this isn't that great of a route.
You know,
it's just kind of like a simple angle route.
We think that video is in slow motion. I'm not sure
really
if it really was.
I don't know what Jason Witten does. I kind of think he's got like some kind of magical buffer around him that prevents defenders from getting too close.
Oh, good call. He might.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got like one of those bubble suits.
Yeah. The invisible bubble suit. I like it.
Because
Because he's always open somehow despite... Look, Jason Witten is not a great athlete anymore. Like, he is not that fast, but he always finds a way to get open when the Cowboys need him to.
Loving the comments flowing in already here on the Cowboys Report. Let's go to number 8 on the Ring of Honor, the top Cowboys of the 2017 season. Dez Bryant, touchdown last week, Tom. Needed it, too.
2 drops that had me really concerned.
Oh, my God. I mean, I was about to throw Dez off this list because of those drops in the first quarter.
Had he not bounced back, I think he would have fallen off. But look, this is what Dez should have done. That's like a 5th-string corner he's beaten. Like, the Giants are banged up a corner. Dez Bryant ended up having a good game. The drops do concern me, but 3 catches, 73 yards, and a score. Had he caught those 2 passes, I think he would have gotten to that 100-yard mark that I kind of thought he was going to finally break. Instead, Rod Smith does it.
And had he not caught a 50-yarder, he wouldn't have even been close.
So in the end, about right, I guess. Is that where we're at?
Ruth chiming in saying, love our Cowboys, watching from Idaho. Love to have you here, Ruth. I'm sure it's a little cold up there. It's a little chilly down here in Dallas. 2 at number 7 on the Ring of Honor this week. Sticking there at number 7 is Dak Prescott. Good game, good bounce back the last 2 weeks out of Dak to get things rolling back in the right direction as the Cowboys start getting closer to having Ezekiel Elliott back on the field.
The Dak haters will say, oh, he only had a good game because he had a bunch of yards after catch. Well, that's the case for a lot of quarterbacks. And the Cowboys, frankly, haven't had a bunch of yards after catch here. That play
what a play there.
Was unbelievable. I still don't know how he was able to do it. And then the Rod Smith touchdown I was super impressed by because he got the safety to move away with his eyes, and that's something a veteran quarterback does there. So I was very impressed by Dak Prescott, and frankly, Brett, the Cowboys needed that game from Dak.
They needed it from Dak, and the quarterback there is a big deal. And the fact that Dak has come back these last 2 weeks, albeit against inferior competition in the Giants, there obviously a lot of injuries have really decimated that team this year. But Dak's got to do that against a team like that in a game that you're supposed to win, needed to win, and they did get it done, even though, it was a little scary for a little bit.
He was great under pressure against the Giants. 5 of 8 for 91 yards and a score when he was pressured, and 3 of those incompletions, Brett, 2 of them were drops.
Yeah.
So he was great under pressure there. I was very impressed by the way that Dak played.
We're going through with our Ring of Honor, the top Cowboys of the 2017 season. At number 6 is center Travis Frederick.
He's Travis Frederick. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it. If
Is he going to be a Pro Bowler this year, Tom?
I don't know. I think he should be, or at the very least be a Pro Bowl alternate. He will not be All-Pro, which is fine because I don't think he's quite had one of the 2 best years. But Pro Bowl, yeah, because frankly, it's the Pro Bowl. Almost everyone gets in. Trevor Siemian got an invite last year. All right, that's how little the Pro Bowl actually matters these
He had
days.
an okay season for half the season.
Okay, fine.
Number 5, Zach Martin. We stick on the offensive line. Number 2 offensive guard this year, as graded out by Pro Football
He's
Focus.
been the most impressive lineman this year for the Dallas Cowboys. He is going to be their top priority in the offseason.
And when you think about it, Zach Martin's injury on the offensive line actually might have been more impactful than Tyron Smith for that one game.
Yeah. But Martin healthy, he is going to be, I think, a focal point of the Cowboys offensive line along with Smith and along with Frederick. And frankly, Leo Collins, who we will talk more about later on in the show. Hint, hint.
Terrence Mackey Jr. saying North Carolina in the house. North Carolina, come on and raise up. Yeah, you don't even know what that reference is to, Tom. That's too bad. Petey Pablo in the house. Number 4, Ezekiel Elliott on our Ring of Honor. Okay, the Cowboys are now 2-3 without Zeke. Can get to 3-3 this week. And maybe that's what you best could have hoped for.
3-3 without Zeke, I think, is frankly the best case scenario.
I do remember somebody here saying they could go 6-0.
Yeah, or even 5-1 was said. But
that was
somebody
me.
on this show, Brett.
That was me.
I'm still.
But that didn't take into account Tyron Smith and Sean Lee being hurt for 3 games.
That's okay.
2
That's
games.
fair. That's fair, I guess. When it comes to Zeke himself, Alfred Morris has been effective. Rod Smith has made some nice plays, but they're not Zeke. It's just a different offense without Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm excited to have him back on the field for those last 2 games, which the Cowboys are going to need him out there and need him playing great. He remains at 4 in the Ring of Honor because my mindset is we're going to keep Sean Lee high, even though he missed a bunch of time. We got to keep Zeke on there as well for being suspended.
Yep, he'll be back against Seattle in Week 16. Could be a playoff elimination game. Kevin chiming in from Las Vegas. What up on the strip, Kevin? At number 3.
This is why they call it America's team.
At number 3 on the Ring of Honor, the top Cowboys of the 2017 season is David Irving.
So I think that with David Irving, I missed him last week. It was okay because the Giants' offensive line is not that good. I will also never stop enjoying this hit he put on Kirk Cousins.
Oh, man, that was a lovely
when he
hit.
basically killed him on air. Like,
Boom.
good, clean shoulder into the chest area. Great hit there from David Irving. He's been super effective this year. Look, he didn't play Week 14. He still got 7 sacks despite missing 5 games this year. That's unbelievably efficient.
We talk about the concussions, and then you see Kirk Cousins in that play duck his head a little bit, and Irving got him with the shoulder in the shoulder. But Kirk's got to keep, if you don't want a concussion, keep your head on.
I mean, look, I think unfortunately with the NFL, the players don't do the best job of protecting themselves. They drop their heads for when they're going to hit, too. They always lower their head, which is how, unfortunately, really bad injuries happen. And then you got players dropping their head to try and avoid contact, but that actually just lowers their targeting box.
We're going to keep chiming in from all across America for America's team. Mitchell Jones in from South Carolina, home of Chat Sports' own Brian. At number 2 on the Ring of Honor is Sean Lee, and man, it was good to see him back. The Cowboys stats people, however they do it internally, credited him with over 20 tackles.
Which I know that it's the Cowboys' internal stat group. I think they cheat. Like, they do this every time with Sean Lee. Sean Lee gets like 5 extra tackles, and I'm like, I don't know if that's actually the case.
Well, the official stats didn't credit him with 20 tackles.
Yeah, they gave him with 18, which is still absurd.
Holy cow, all over the field, plus the interception, the tackle for loss.
He had a pass breakup as well. Look, Sean Lee was fantastic in coverage, too. Look, he did allow 7 catches. None of them went for more than 6 yards, which tells you, they're doing
all
the check down and
underneath
right there,
stuff.
which is exactly what they're asking out of Sean Lee. I know that maybe he doesn't get the hype nationally that a Luke Kuechly does. I don't think Sean Lee's that far behind as an actual player from a talent perspective. Because injuries plays a role there, but Sean Lee is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. I know he's been hurt. He should be getting all-pro consideration.
Look, I mean, we could talk about Sean Lee as being the most valuable player of this league because he is the most important player on the Cowboys defense, and he is worth possibly 20 points a game by himself. That's ridiculous.
He's got 70 tackles in like half a game this year, or in like half the season.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
In half the game, basically.
Which it feels like that, though.
Sylvia is here in Texas with us in Mission, Texas, and we go to number 1 on the Ring of Honor. DeMarcus Lawrence didn't have a sack last week, though, Tom.
No, but he had a lot of hurries, and sometimes a hurry is just as effective as a sack, even though it doesn't quite result in the loss of yards or the stat sheet. But he had 6 hurries last week against the Giants. I'll take 6 hurries every week, even though I think that it's not going to be great for the stat sheet. When you're getting consistent pressure like that and forcing the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands faster, that's great. So I was impressed again by DeMarcus Lawrence. He is going to be a very important piece of this Cowboys defense next year if they can bring him back. Remember, DeMarcus Lawrence, an unrestricted free agent, David Irving, a restricted free agent, which I think the Cowboys can bring both back, but the money is going to be a big factor there for the Cowboys.
Tom, let me ask you this question. I had this thought.
I'm concerned.
Do they get any money back from the Ezekiel Elliott suspension as it relates to the cap?
No, they do not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They don't.
That was maybe a pipe dream type of question.
Even if they did it, it's actually not that much money because he's not making a ton of money as a rookie. He's making a decent amount of money. The good news is for the Cowboys going forward in the offseason is they get some of the Tony Romo money back. They do have some more cap space coming forward, so they can afford tank, but it's going to be mostly an internal offseason, not so much they go out and sign a big high-priced guy. Speaking
of Tony Romo, Tom, there are some comments about bringing Tony Romo back, but we're not going to get into it right now. We do have a couple of check-ins from Shreveport, Louisiana as well. Nice. Keep those comments rolling. Got a good show here for you coming up. We're talking playoff picture in just a second, but got to remind you, today's show is sponsored by the Guild. If you guys are taking a trip to Austin, Texas, hey, you guys in Shreveport, not that far away, stay with the Guild. Visit stayguild.com. Use the promo code ChatSports for 15% off your stay. A new concept in luxury hospitality located in Austin, Texas. Tom, let's talk playoffs. That's what the people want to see. Can the Cowboys make the playoffs? We'll pull up the NFC playoff picture. The Eagles have clinched the NFC East. They will be without Carson Wentz for the rest of the season.
Super Bowl blowing chances for them.
Possibly. The Vikings sitting there at 10-3 leading the North. The Rams lead the West at 9-4. The Saints in a very, very competitive NFC South leading the way currently because of tiebreakers over the Panthers. And then the Falcons there taking the other wild card spot at 8-5. In the hut, and we're going to get into the scenarios here in just a second. Cowboys are rooting against Seahawks, Lions, and the Packers, of course. Cowboys do not hold a tiebreaker over the Packers or the Falcons because of earlier in the season losses. Let's take a quick look at the Cowboys' schedule. 3 games left. Cowboys at 7-6. At Oakland this week, a sputtering and just disappointing Oakland Raiders team this season. Early in the season, these last 3 games looked like a gauntlet. That Oakland game looks a little bit easier now. You've got the Seattle game with Ezekiel Elliott coming back, and then at Philadelphia in Week 17. Will it mean anything for Philly? Remains to be seen. Philly's schedule the last 3 weeks is pretty soft, so it could be that the Eagles still get home field advantage clinched up.
Eagles' magic number is 2.
Yep.
If they win 2 games, they have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Minnesota. That's actually been locked in. Because of common opponents, the Vikings losing to the Panthers really helped out the Eagles, actually. So the Eagles, if they win their next 2 games, they're actually playing for nothing in Week 17, which could be huge for Dallas.
It would really help Dallas get an extra win. So got a reaction poll for you guys. Before we get into those playoff scenarios, will the Cowboys finish 10-6? Use the heart button. Use the wow face for 9-7. Laughy face for 8-8. And then an angry face if they don't win another game this season. Tom, where are you sitting?
And people aren't going to like this. I kind of think the Cowboys are going to lose 1 game down the stretch. I don't know which one it's going to be. The Seattle game actually concerns me the most. I do think they beat the Raiders this week, hint, hint. But I think for the playoff race, Brett, if the Cowboys are going to make it, they have to win 10 games. They will not win tiebreakers with teams like the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Lions, the Packers, and everyone else. They will not win those tiebreakers. So the Cowboys, if they're making the playoffs, they got to win out.
As expected, I see a lot of hearts. I think the Cowboys can get to 10-6. Will they? Of course, is the question. I'm thinking either 9-7 or 10-6 here. I like 10-6 though, Tom. I think they beat the Raiders this week. I think they get Zeke back and are able to beat the Seahawks at home because of that. I think the pass rush, Cowboys pass rush, is going to be a big deal against that Seattle's
not as
line.
good on the road.
And if you have Sean Lee back, then you can play that spy game with Russell Wilson, not let him do too much of those things. And then Eagles, I do think, even without Carson Wentz, Eagles going to win their next 2 games. They won't be playing for anything in Week 17.
That's the best case scenario.
Hopefully, they will sit there trying to get healthy because they've had plenty of injuries this season as well. That gets the Cowboys to 10-6. So, hey, Cowboys are at 10-6. Let's talk playoffs, right?
Yeah, playoffs.
No, it's not that simple, folks. Scenarios assuming the Cowboys win out. Let's take a look at these. Let's start first with the Vikings and the Saints. More or less, these are teams that you want to cheer for.
And look at why. The Vikings play the Packers and the Saints play the Falcons. You want Minnesota and New Orleans to win those games, help you out against the Packers and Falcons, 2 teams that are still in the playoff mix. And frankly, the Cowboys aren't going to catch these teams. Because look, the Saints and Vikings both play a 5-win team and a 4-win team. So they're going to be in. The Cowboys are hoping Minnesota and the Saints keep winning. Minnesota did not help the Cowboys out last week, losing to the Panthers.
Cowboys didn't get a lot of help last week.
Last 2 weeks, really.
There's one very, very key game on here. And no, Tom, it's not Saints-Falcons. It's Vikings-Packers because you know who's back this week. And if you let Aaron Rodgers into the playoffs, he's going to do some things that people aren't going to like yet again. Vikings-Packers, that is the key game to watch right there. Saints need to beat the Falcons, of course, but the Falcons do have another couple of games that could be losable for them. All right, let's take a look at the Rams and the Panthers as it relates. Once again, all of these scenarios are moot if the Cowboys don't get to 10-6. They're not making the playoffs at 9-7.
We'll start with the Rams here. The Cowboys are now cheering for Los Angeles because they lost the head-to-head tiebreaker. Brett, you're looking pretty excited there. What you got?
I got a comment from Benito Juarez saying we cheer for the Cowboys only. Well, it's okay to cheer for some other teams when it helps the Cowboys, Benito.
Because you are cheering for the Cowboys as a result.
That's right.
So that's also why we left the Eagles off here.
That's right. We're not cheering
they don't
for the
matter.
Eagles.
So the Rams. The Cowboys will not win the head-to-head battle because they lost earlier this year. And frankly, you want the Rams to beat Seattle.
Yep.
You don't want the Cowboys to come in next week with Seattle having won a game because then you're still kind of behind the eight ball there because then Seattle's got 9 wins. They end up controlling their own destiny if they win.
And we'll tell you why in just a second when we get to Seattle.
Yes. So you want the Rams to – in reality, you want the Rams to not – the worst case scenario for the Cowboys is the Rams finish with 10 wins. And the Cowboys also finish with 10 wins because they're not going to win that head-to-head tiebreaker. A similar road for Carolina, but you're also cheering for Carolina because they play the Packers and the Falcons. Carolina can really help out Dallas by beating Green Bay and Atlanta. And that would be a big boost for Dallas if Carolina takes care of business, finishes with 12 wins or 11 wins, losing to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that Panthers-Packers, say that 5 times fast. I mean, this week, both of those teams have key games. Rams-Seahawks, Panthers-Packers as it relates to the Cowboys. All right, let's get into the teams that the Cowboys are really competing with for that final playoff spot. Again, assuming the Cowboys win out and get to 10-6. Falcons, Seahawks. Those are the teams to really watch for. And in the end, folks, Cowboys need these teams to lose twice.
And it's also because the way the tiebreakers work out, you go to head-to-head, you go to common divisional opponents. So head-to-head, it could matter for Cowboys versus Seattle if the Cowboys win that game. But you're also going to probably face a scenario where if that ends up happening, that the Cowboys and Seahawks aren't the only teams with 10 wins or the only teams with 9 wins. And the Cowboys head-to-head kind of doesn't matter at that point. They continue to move on. The Cowboys tiebreakers are not in their favor. The Cowboys lose a lot of the tiebreakers if there are multiple teams with 10 or 9 wins.
Yeah, and frankly, if the Seahawks were to beat the Rams, what it sets up is actually the Rams getting to 11 wins and the Seahawks, regardless of that Cowboys game, sitting there at 10 wins, and there's an extra team in the wild card mix.
Exactly.
Cowboys can't get themselves to 11 wins.
So in reality, it's not fully limited if the Cowboys, if the Falcons or Seattle lose only 1 game. The Cowboys aren't totally limited if they win out, but in all probability, the Cowboys need Atlanta and Seattle to finish with 9 wins. So what that means is the Falcons, they're probably going to beat the Bucs. It's Tampa Bay. They're not very good. So the Cowboys fans want the Saints to beat Atlanta and the Panthers to beat the Falcons. That's huge there. And then with Seattle, you need them to lose their next 2 games. I don't think they're going to beat Arizona. Or I don't think they're going to lose to Arizona, excuse me. So you want the Falcons in Seattle to finish with 9 wins, or otherwise the playoff tiebreakers aren't in the Cowboys' favor this year.
Yep. All right, 2 more teams to look at, Packers and Lions. Again, assuming the Cowboys win out, because frankly, the Cowboys have to win out to have a chance. Packers and Lions, Cowboys really only need them to lose 1 time and be at 9-6. But here's their picture. Packers have 3 key games, all against tough opponents. I don't think the Packers are going to get to 10-6, which is good for the Cowboys.
Frankly, what I'm hoping for is that the Packers lose one of their next 2 games and then beat Detroit.
Yep,
because
that's what you need.
Detroit
could get to 10-6.
Detroit actually scares me because they play the Bears, Bengals, and we'll see what the Packers look like when Rodgers comes back. If the Packers lose 2 games, they might sit Rodgers week 17 and just not risk re-injuring him for next year. So the Lions kind of scared me the most. Remember, the Cowboys also have that head-to-head issue with the Packers if it ends up being just those 2 teams. So the Lions concern me the most. So the Cowboys, in the reality here, Brett, what we've said in the end is they got to win out, and then they need help.
All right, those are your playoff scenarios. We'll take a look one more time at the NFC playoff picture. Cowboys are rooting for the Vikings, the Rams, and the Saints, and the Panthers. And the Cowboys are rooting against the Falcons, Lions, Packers, and of course the Seahawks. Cowboys get to play the Seahawks there to hopefully have a little bit of control over the destiny. But then again, folks, it is very simple. Cowboys need to get to 10-6.
Yeah, 9-7 is not going to done.
At this point in the season, it's very simple. Cowboys have to get to 10-6, and then after that, it gets complicated. But if the Cowboys don't get to 10-6, they will not make the playoffs. Tom, let's ask the people. I'm going to ask you, do you think the Cowboys will make the playoffs?
Let me put it this way for you, Brett. I saw this comment coming in from Drew Kirchman, said, what are the actual odds of our Cowboys making the playoffs?
Not good.
4%. Or 3%, depending on which site you use. Those are the odds right now. So in the end, Brett, I think the Cowboys get to 9 wins. I think they come up just short. So I will be cheering for them to make the playoffs. I think there's too much that needs to happen right now for Dallas. I think they come up just short in the very loaded NFC. If they were in the AFC, they would make it. But in the NFC, I just don't like where they're sitting.
Yeah, you'd like to be in the AFC West this
year.
It'd
be great.
Where you'd be in first place in the division. Tom, I'm with you. I don't think the Cowboys make the playoffs at this stage. It's a tough road to get to 10-6, first and foremost. And then even if you're at 10-6, there's still a lot that has to happen. I think the Cowboys put too many eggs in other teams' baskets this year. Obviously, the Ezekiel Elliott
all it takes is Atlanta to pull one upset. And at that point, it's like, well, sorry, Cowboys, you're not going to make it.
All right, welcome into the Cowboys Report. That was the playoff picture. We're going to get into our Cowboys-Raiders preview right now. I am Brett Scott. That is Tom Downey. Follow him on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. Cowboys at the Raiders this week, O.Co Stadium. I think that's what they call it. They might call it Alameda or something nowadays. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, NBC Sunday Night Football game. We will be here live immediately following the game with your instant highlights and instant recap. Both teams fighting for their playoff lives. Raiders a little bit more desperate probably than the Cowboys, but in the end, both teams have to win.
When NBC scheduled this game at the start, they thought, oh man, we could hype this up as a potential Super Bowl matchup. Now it's like, well, now we got playoff implications.
It's playoff implication game. All right, let's take a look at the injury report. First up, Cowboys. David Irving is questionable, Tom.
I think he plays this week. I think he's going to be good to go. The Cowboys will not rush him back. They'll be okay on the defensive line. They do want him back. And if I have to gun to my head right now on Thursday, he plays.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Bryce Butler was a surprise inactive last week.
I don't know if he's going to go.
Yeah.
And not actually a huge loss in the end. What really maybe concerns me more is James Hanna is banged up with a knee. He had a great catch against the Giants. And then Orlando Scandrick, we'll see if he plays. But Brett, I'll tell you this. I don't know if it matters all that much anymore if Scandrick plays or does not play.
Tom, I'm not going to let you rant and rave about the secondary this week, but without Orlando Scandrick, it was fine last week.
Yeah, they're fine. They don't need Scandrick anymore. He frankly hasn't been that good.
Let's take a quick look at the Raiders injury report, which is a lot more than the Cowboys. Amari Cooper, is he going to play?
Cooper re-aggravated that ankle injury. He is going to give it a go. I think the Raiders know that they really want him out there, that they don't want to have to lean too much on Cordarrelle Patterson and Seth Roberts. We'll see if he goes. David Amerson could finally return for the Cowboys. or for the Raiders against the Cowboys, he's battling a foot injury. He hasn't played in like 6 weeks here. That's an issue there for the Raiders. Mario Edwards reappeared on the injury list. Obi Melifonwu, who I thought the Cowboys could take in the draft, has battled injuries all year long.
Yeah, all year long. Very, very similar to the Cowboys' young secondary. That Raiders' young secondary has battled injuries for, frankly, 2 years now. Second page of the Raiders injury report
banged up.
Includes Jared Cook and Clive Wofford.
Cook, I think, is going to be able to play. Clive Wofford will help limit them at the tight end spot. That probably means more Lee Smith is kind of their blocking back. Corey James was their starter at weak side linebacker. He's been placed on IR. That means that, believe it or not, Brett, undrafted rookie Nicholas Moreau will get the start. He is from Greenville. Yeah, the Raiders are not good at linebacker. They're very banged up.
Greenville, South Carolina?
I think so. I don't know. It just says Greenville College. I don't know where it is.
Wow.
I would assume South Carolina.
Well, that's the injury report for the Cowboys and the Raiders. Let's talk some keys to the game. We got 3.
Plot twist. It's in Illinois.
Of course it is. We've got 3 keys for you, and first and foremost, it starts with harassing Derek Carr.
And I think this sets up very well for the Dallas Cowboys. The Raiders' offensive line is very expensive. Hasn't played well enough. Look,
the Raiders in general have been a big disappointment this year.
Look, Gabe Jackson hasn't been as good as he was last year. Assembly's been pretty solid, but it's the right side of that Raiders offensive line, namely Marshall Newhouse. We've done Raiders report shows in the past. We tried to warn the Raiders fan base that Marshall Newhouse was not that good. And they didn't listen to us, Brett. Well, now they're going to pay the price. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is going to go off this week. Because I think a Newhouse matchup wildly skews in favor of him. I think he's going to cause pressure all game long. The Raiders have a big issue at right tackle. The Cowboys will be able to harass Derek Carr. That sets up well for them.
You know, we talked about a young Cowboys secondary a lot. That Raiders secondary is young as well. Key number 2 is make sure you pick on that pass
and it's banged up. Look, Sean Smith has not been very good since he came over from the Chiefs. He's been worse than what Brandon Carr was for the Dallas Cowboys. They've been forced to play TJ Carey a lot, who's a decent backup. David Amerson's been banged up. When he's played, he hasn't looked as great. Gary Conley, the first-round rookie, is out. The secondary is not very good right now. Reggie Nelson has, frankly, looked kind of bad this year. I think he just kind of hit the wall in terms of his career, and he's never going to be the same player. Melifonwu hasn't been able to play. The Cowboys can pick on this Raiders secondary that didn't have a pick until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I'm surprised that we're going to talk about key number 3 here, Tom, because if you told me earlier or before this season started that you wanted to make the Raiders one-dimensional and that one dimension being Derek Carr, I'd have told you were crazy. But where the Raiders have had success lately is getting Marshawn Lynch going at a couple of big games in in 2 of their 3 recent wins. And so key number 3, controlling beast mode.
Look, the Chiefs had presented a very good game plan for stopping the Oakland Raiders. And I think it was that they didn't let them run the football. The Raiders ran the ball 11 times against the Chiefs. That's the recipe for losing. It's much easier said than done. But making a team one-dimensional is a really good way to win football games. Lynch had 7 carries for 61 yards and a score, but when you're only getting 7 carries, you're not really impacting the game in the way that you should. And some of that came kind of in garbage time, where it wasn't the same type of Raiders ground game we saw last year, where they ran the ball effectively. I think it's partially the OC. Todd Downey has not done a good job of calling games. If you limit Marshawn Lynch and you make Derek Carr throw the ball 44 times a game or more, or even 35 times a game or more, you're probably going to win.
Yeah, because their receivers drop balls more than Des Bryant.
Crabtree and Cooper.
All right, those are our keys to the game for the Cowboys. Let's check out some players to watch. Hey, get those predictions in the comments section. We're getting to predictions next. Let's start with La'el Collins.
Hey, it's Khalil Mack time for Collins. And Collins hasn't actually gotten out that well on Pro Football Focus, only 59. I thought he's been a little bit better than that. I think he's done a pretty effective job of stopping opposing teams in the passing game. But Khalil Mack is a different monster. Collins, when he struggles,
attack, baby.
It is against speed guys. And that's what Mack is. Mack's got great burst off the edge. I actually like him a lot against JPP because JPP tends to use more of his strength at this point in his career. So Collins against Mack, let's not be dumb here, Cowboys. Let's chip him every now and then. Let's have Witten just throw a shoulder into Mack and then go do his job.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Tom, I'm going to let you talk about the secondary a little bit. Player to watch number 2, Chidobe.
Chidobe Awuzie, Cheeto to make things easier because he has a very tough name to pronounce. I love what I've seen out of Cheeto this year.
Yeah.
He has been great.
Great nickname.
Yeah, Cheeto.
I mean, we've got a taco now with Cheeto. I mean, that sounds like lunch.
Great class, man.
It's lunch.
All right, so this is a different test, though, for Cheeto. Because now he's going to get Amari Cooper and or Michael Crabtree. It's one thing to shut down the Giants' passing attack. It's one thing to shut down the Redskins with no receivers. Now he gets 2 good receivers who do have drop issues. So this is a tough test for Awuzie. I'm excited to see what he's got. I think he's going to continue to thrive well and establish himself as the Cowboys' top corner going into next season.
All right, one more player to watch. And Tom, you don't usually talk about the kickers, but Dan Bailey missed an extra point. I'm gonna give him pass on 50-plus yard field goals, even though we just assume he's going to make them.
Yeah.
But he missed an extra point this week,
The extra point concerns me, and I don't know what's going on with Dan Bailey. And Jerry
did get the last extra point in, which, confidence-wise with kickers.
Jerry Jones said this week that he's dealing with a hamstring injury, but Dan Bailey's not on the injury report, which I find curious, and I think he is dealing with a hamstring injury. So I want to see Dan Bailey just look like Dan Bailey again.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking about Bailey, but with games against the Raiders, Seattle, and the Eagles coming up, those are probably going to be closer games. You need your kicker making those field goals and making those extra points.
All right, those are your players to watch. That is your Cowboys-Raiders preview. Sunday Night Football this week. Get your score predictions in those comments. I see a couple coming in from Philip and Greg already, 27-10. Both of them saying that is a popular score because we're going to start with you, Tom. You've got 27-21.
I was very close. I think that the Raiders find ways to score a little bit. I think in the end, though, this is going to be a Cowboys win. I think the Cowboys are just a better overall team right now. The Raiders have kind of fallen apart. Going on the road makes it a little bit closer, but the Cowboys win this game. They keep those playoff hopes alive, and the Raiders kind of more or less get eliminated, and the calls to fire Jack Del Rio grow louder.
Yeah.
Like Jack Del Rio.
I think they got to get rid of the offensive coordinator next, which he's only been there for 1 year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Lena next. Producer Lena's got 24-17, another Cowboys victory. Tom, I was having a hard time coming up with my score prediction on this one. I can't decide is it going to be a low-scoring or a high-scoring game, or just, it could just be a blowout.
For what it's worth, the Cowboys are favored by 3. Over-under is 46, so indicates a slightly lower scoring game.
So 26-23. All right, I went 33-23. Cowboys win again. Keep those playoff hopes alive.
I think they will, and I think that that's huge for the Cowboys. It'll be great for our show. As soon as that game ends, folks, we're gonna have highlights from that Raiders-Cowboys game. Like the page, you'll be notified when we go live. I think the Cowboys win this one, and that's huge. I think in the end there for the Dallas Cowboys. If they lose this game,
they're done.
It's over. They're not making.
They're done. They might as well lose 2 more and get a better draft pick.
There you go.
People don't do that. All right, Philip's got 27-10. Appreciate the comment, Philip. Greg's got 27-10 as well. Uziel, 27-24.
Close one. Okay.
Close one. Steven, 35-21. Raiders scoring garbage time. Love it. Ty's got 27-14. Zelda, not the game. Zelda Wells, we love you. Thanks for chiming in. 26-23. Jay, 31-14. Cowboys win. LaCressa's going 14-10. Low scoring game.
Okay.
I could see it. I could see it.
I like it.
All right, is that all we got, Miss Lena, producer? Yes, that's all we've got for the Cowboys Report this week. Appreciate all of your comments. Make sure to like this page. Click that follow button so that you see the Cowboys Report every week. We will be here live 11 p.m. on Sunday, immediately following Cowboys' hopefully victory over the Raiders. That's all we got for this week's Cowboys Report. Visit stayguild.com. Use that promo code CHATSPORTS. 15% off your next day in Austin, Texas. We'll see you later.